Woo,
Okay,
you are controlling the stage.
I think we
Woohoo!
are live. So,
Wow.
want to welcome whoever is with us to this grand experiment. We're calling it Luke 10 Live and the 67 Experiment. So, Toni and I are going to kick things off, welcome people to be a part of this. Very exciting.
Yay.
And so, it's hard for us to tell if there are people that are watching. There is a place for you. There's like a chat box down there, and if you are watching what we're doing, we'd love for you to just sign in. Tell us who you are, maybe where you are. We'd love to see that. But Toni, so we got to start with introductions first of all. So how about I introduce you and you'd introduce me?
Oh my. Okay, go for it. This could be fun.
So it is my privilege to introduce Toni Daniels, who, among many hats that she wears, she is the training champion for Luke 10. You have been with us 7, 8, how many years? 8 years? Somewhere on there.
Yeah, I think it's been like 9 or 10 since I started Church 101, but working with you for about 6 or 7. Yep.
Okay. That'd be a fun story to tell at some point along here, how we originally got connected. But Toni and her husband, Matt, live in Nashville with their 2 children, 1 grown child. And of course, you have your older child, Hillary, sort of adopted child. And I just want to say how incredibly thankful I am for Toni. You have brought to Luke 10 your amazing gifts of both creating a training process, which we call our learning or our training pathway, and also then you are, I think, one of the best trainers actually working with people that I have ever seen. You are so effective. And I think so much of what Luke 10 is becoming is really owed to you. So I'm really thankful for that. Glad that we get to hang out every week. We're on calls, Zoom calls, you and I and Kent mostly, at least a couple times a week, sometimes more than that.
My jaw's hurting from smiling. Stop it.
Probably get tired of looking at me over all those times. But anyway, she is just a good friend, both for that, and so thankful to be sharing this with you. So, Toni.
Wow. Thank you. So I am going to introduce to you this man in front of me. Beside me is John White. And yes, have known you for probably 9 or 10. I think it might be 10 years now.
Wow.
The first time, I won't tell the whole story, but the first time I kind of met you online, I was completely amazed by you and thought, I need to know this man. I think God wants to teach me some things through him. Oh, boy, did I not have any idea. So you are in Florida, Naples, Florida, but from Colorado originally. Not from there originally, but you lived there for a long time. And you are the vision champion for Luke 10. So sometimes I call you, oh, Captain, my Captain, which you hate. If you haven't seen Dead Poets Society, then you'd have to see that movie. You've seen it, right? Okay. You love teacher movies. You're into teacher movies. Yeah. So there you go. It's the illusion from that. Because in that movie in particular, he was a radical practitioner, right? And totally, started a revolution. Didn't go so well in some ways in the movie, but he shook things up a good bit.
Yeah, Robin Williams, right, in that role.
Yes, Robin Williams, yes. And you definitely have the tendency to shake things up wherever you go, being a challenger as you are. And something else about John, in way of introduction, you have just leaned into your rough edges for probably the better half of 30 years. And you have, you definitely express a maturing 8 on the Enneagram, a challenger like I've never experienced before. And I personally have benefited from that because it has created an environment for me to grow as well in all that I am and be able to bring everything I can bring and not intimidate you. And at the same time, you can challenge me and help me soften my rough edges as I grow and mature. So I have thoroughly enjoyed working with you as our vision champion. What that means is, John, he stewards the vision of the organization. He really, the questions he always is asking are questions around, are we being true to our DNA, to our values and practices that God has given us to stay true to? And those are it's beautiful to keep the ship steered in the right direction. So thank you for making sure that happens faithfully.
No, thank you.
Because as we've said, I tend to activate, and I'll just activate in any direction. We need to make sure we're going in the right direction.
So you mentioned Enneagram 8. Let's talk about that for a minute, because that's been a fun part of our relationship. So Toni is an Enneagram 3. And so why don't you explain for a minute, what is an Enneagram 3 and what is it that you are motivated to do?
Ooh, well, in my case in particular, it is intensity. Pretty much all the time. I can work while I'm sleeping, and I probably do. I had friends say, you get more done when you're on vacation than most people do when they're actually trying to work hard. So, I can't help myself. I just love to be in action and love to be doing. When I'm fully me, I am constantly in motion, pretty much, except when I intentionally go to rest to refuel. So I have learned over my life, thankfully, because of the 4 children that we have, that I definitely have to recharge and lean into solitude and silence to one, to help me not be so intense that I overwhelm everyone else around me, and that I actually stay relational in what I do, because it's really hard. It's really easy for me to see a goal and kind of go after it and not keep the people in my awareness as I'm doing that. So we've done a lot of work together to help me stay relational as I am pursuing a goal, because in all honesty, reaching a goal without the people around me is a miserable experience for me. I'm not that type of person, right, where I want to take the hill at all cost. I only want to take the hill if I can take it with everyone. So it's been a beautiful process to learn how to do that when that's really my heart, to be able to do that, and then help others shine. I used to think that it was wrong for me to shine because it meant other people would feel bad about themselves if they weren't, if they couldn't perform as good as I could. And I just had God reframe that for me years ago and say, no, I created you to shine, but not at the expense of others. I created you to help others shine. And I was like, yes. So that's how I fit with Luke 10, I think, with training facilitators, training spiritual moms and dads, helping people be the best version of themselves, no matter what they are on the Enneagram, being able to just coach them and help them rest in Jesus to be able to be fully everything he created them to be.
Well said. So Toni's a 3 and I'm an 8. And that verse in scripture that talks about as iron sharpens iron would be true of us. Both of us tend to have strong ideas and opinions about things, and they don't always mesh. So over the years, we've had a few conflicts, and little by little, we're learning how to deal with that. We're learning how to do speaker listener with each other, and I think we're becoming more skilled at that. But we've had some challenging conversations, but have managed to keep the relationship first, and then learning how to process through that in a way that ends up being a win-win, I think. So, yeah. Toni.
And we hold a lot of tensions. I think that's the way my husband likes to talk about it. Instead of polarizing our organization or polarizing ourselves on different issues, you and I tend to hold these tensions together that have blown churches apart, that have blown organizations apart. And I think it's because of an attachment level bonding, with you, or just a very trusting relationship that we have, where there's deep, deep trust. I know your heart is for me, and no matter what, even when you're mad at me, even when you disagree with me, And I think you know that I am for you no matter what. And that helps, that trust helps us stay in those tensions, even when they're hard.
I absolutely do. And as Toni talked about her rough edges, same for me. I've got lots of rough edges. And Toni is one of the people that God has used to work on those rough edges in my life. So I appreciate that. So eventually we're going to talk about the 67 experiment, but I'm having fun sort of exploring this conversation first. We'll get there in 67. So I want to go back to the first time we met, because I think this is one of my favorite all-time tend to be stories. We've been praying Luke 10, verse 2, part B, seeks the Lord of the harvest to send forth workers, expecting the Lord of the harvest to do the heavy lifting, as my friend Kenny Moore would say, and then just kind of being alert to these tend to be answers that show up in very surprising places. And this was back in the day when we were just beginning, I was just beginning to explore Life Model Works. And there was an opportunity to have like an online roundtable. I thought, well, I'd like to talk to these people and learn more about this. And I don't know, there might have been, what, Toni, 8 or 10 people on that call? How many do you think?
I am sorry, John, but I'm totally distracted because our community is on Discord blowing it up, and half of them don't realize that you and I are live talking right now. So they're texting me. Hillary, would you put an @everyone on Discord right now?
I already did.
Oh, you did, to let everyone know. But would you actually say that I am in a session with John?
Sure, yeah.
Thank you. That would make me feel peaceful, because then no one will expect me to get back with
Of course, of course.
So just, Hillary, you can tell them to get on the call.
That's
and
right.
whatever question they want to ask Toni, they can put it in the chat box, right? So they can get anything they want answered right in the middle of our session, probably.
Sounds great.
That is too fun. Okay, John. So you said how many people were on that call that we were on together?
Yeah, the original call. And I never met you before.
It was at least 10 people. It was a large group of people. And, you know, I mean, Google Hangouts or whatever, we're just kind of getting like, no, I'd never been on one before.
Yeah.
So we're on this call. I don't even know if we had cameras or if it was just voices.
Yeah.
I think it was, I don't remember.
I think we could see each other. I think we could,
Okay.
it was visual. So that was there. So again, I had no idea who Toni Daniels was. And so she was just one of these anonymous people on the call. And there was somebody from Life Model Works who was the sort of facilitating this call.
We won't name names.
We won't name names.
Although he is a friend.
Yeah. And so, Toni, pick it up from there. What did you experience?
Okay. So we get on this call, and it's a think tank, right? He wants to generate brainstorming ideas for how to implement Life Model Works and how to disseminate it. Is that what you say? To get it into church culture and everything. And so he called us all together to do this type of think work, but he honestly had no idea how to structure that meeting to do the work that he wanted to do. He was clueless, no facilitation skills in that way, you know. And I saw this guy just kind of from the periphery be like, well, hey, what about this? And I wonder if we did this, if that would help. And yeah, I wonder, maybe we should ask everyone this question. And I saw this meeting going from potentially life-sucking and annoying to life-giving, fruitful, and actually generating ideas within minutes. And I think it was just an hour long. And by the end of the time, everyone had shared their thoughts. The problem had been addressed, and we had generated tons of ideas. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, I need skill like that. Who is this man? Because I need to be able to work a room like that. I don't have that ability. So I texted you immediately and said, can we meet? I think we have a lot of values in common. And you said,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah, I would love to. So we got on a call right then. I think my husband joined us and met you, and you became our mentor that day, taking us through Church 101. Back then, we didn't have a portal. We didn't have any type of, lessons like that. You would just send out these PDFs to people. So I think you probably introduced us to checking in and listening in Church of Two.
Yep.
Right then on the call, you probably had us practice it together in front of you. And then you kind of left us and sent the PDFs, right? And then we met again and had some follow-up like that, doing Church 101 kind of in that way.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so I'm thinking to myself, boy, these two, Matt and Toni, sure seem really hungry. And I think they might tend to be answers. So it was really fun to see how that developed from there.
So we had on our end been in Uruguay at that time, probably for 11 years. No, goodness gracious, 15, 16 years by that time. And we had been searching for a reproducible model of starting churches relationally in a way that actually nurtured and cultivated relational health and relational skills, because we had been trained in all of that, one, but two, we were only trained in it out of necessity, because in Uruguay, mental illness was rampant, suicide was rampant. And we were trying to figure out, how can church actually make a difference? And how would church thrive and be viral in this type of setting? What would it need? And we really sensed the Lord saying, well, they're going to need healthy relationships, because that's why everyone's depressed and killing themselves. So what would it look like to have a church that actually nurtured healthy emotional attachment and healthy relationships? And Matt and I knew that's what we were going for, but we had no idea what it would look like. And we knew that the way we had been taught to plant churches was to kind of grow your own family, be church's family, which is great, but like grow that family. And it took us 15 years to grow that family to 30 people. And we realized that our family had a lot of healing they needed to do, because a lot of them had mentally ill mothers. And so they needed a lot of counseling, a lot of therapy, a lot of just being family together. They weren't going to go reproduce a whole church or be pastors of community yet. They were still young, having children of their own. So we were thinking, God, if you want a whole movement of churches in Uruguay, this is not the way to do it, because this is great. It's one solid family of 30 people. And we witness and share with all of our neighbors. We're light to our community, but this isn't a movement. How do we get to movemental, right? How do we get to a movement? And so when we hit the 10-2B round with you, we were like, oh, God's going to bring us prepared people that he's prepared beforehand for this, people that we don't have to reparent and nurture like we have to nurture our own family, like people that we just get to train and they run and do it. This was, and we had master's degrees in church planting, and we had never heard of that before. So yes, Luke 10 was very instrumental in us putting our relationship and our children back in front and center with our church practices, which was relieving and wonderful. And then also training us in how to see a movement happen nationwide, which has always been my passion. So,
well, it's such a great example of 10-2B prayer, that the Lord of the harvest knows what's going on, and he can send us people who are, really fully formed, who are hungry, who are ready to go, who are incredibly productive. And it just changes the whole paradigm of what church planting, discipleship, the whole thing, the whole paradigm is different. So I love that story. That's just so cool. So, and it surprised both of us, like, really? Wow. So I want to mention to anybody who's watching that if you have any kind of questions about what we're talking about, right now we're just talking about our own personal stories. Sometime this week, there will be a whole hour devoted to somebody interviewing Toni and somebody interviewing me and a whole bunch of other people. So that's coming. But if you have any questions or comments you want to make right now, feel free to put that in the chat box. So let's shift over to this whole 67 experiment that's going on.
All right.
Can you give us sort of the background on this, Toni?
Yeah. So, wow. So Luke 10 used to just be you, pretty much. Back in the day. I mean, you had other people with you in community, but not paid as staff, or not being paid to actually pay attention and nurture this relational revolution. And so you were the only one paid as staff. And as we grew and as I started working with Luke 10, we started hearing God say increase capacity. God was going to do something and we didn't know what, and we just heard him say increase capacity. And in order to do that, we really sensed that, wow, these PDFs, they need to be in a place where we can find them whenever we need them and not have to search through emails for them. They need to be in a place where people can access them easier. You know what? We should facilitate this course, because what you get out of the course is most of it isn't even on paper. It's nonverbal skill and facilitation that you're getting from a Church 101 course. So we really wanted to be able to facilitate it. And as we started increasing this capacity, it led to one thing after the other. And Jesus has us now training spiritual moms and dads and how to nurture these ecosystems of grace, which is what the mission of the organization is, connecting and equipping, right? And so, but in order to do that, we really needed to hire a few more people to help run some of the systems and scale what we have. So hopefully with the staff that we have right now, we could eventually handle whatever God might bring our way.
Let me interrupt you. How many staff do we have right now?
Right. So we have 2 full-time paid staff. We have 3 people working full-time, 2 are paid, and you are not. John White, you are working full-time for Luke 10, but you definitely don't get a full-time salary. I think you get like a fourth, which not everyone needs to know that, but you've chosen to not get your salary because you feel like you are okay in your life right now, and you would rather provide for others in the organization. So, and then we've got Hillary and myself in those roles. And then we have 5 or 6. I think I counted you as part-time because of your salary. So we have 5 others who work at very different part-time levels. Some from, 5 hours a week, who do our bookkeeping, all the way to, Kent Smith, who probably gives a lot more time than that, right? For the book and for our mission oversight meetings and our R&D meetings and things like that. So everyone else kind of falls in between as part-timers. And we're all, yeah.
All of those people are going to be interviewed this week. So you'll have a chance to get to know everybody, full-time, part-time. And overall, I would say, I think for an international organization like Luke 10, it's a very lean staff. So it's not like we have, thousands of people working here. So yeah.
Or overhead. We don't have a building. Thankfully, we all work from our homes. We also, most people are independent contractors, and so they provide their own equipment, their own computers, things like that. Although we love to help out when we can, if they need that help when we can. So as an organization. So as it grew and we increased capacity, we hired some help to be able to maintain the systems to reach the people that are coming and more as they come.
Right.
Yeah. And that's brought us to where we are today, because the funding, obviously, that we were receiving back when you founded the organization can't carry us into the future when we're hiring people. So we have been underfunded for a few years now. And we've been listening to God on what does he want us to know about this? What does he want us to know? And in previous years, we've had a generous funder donate whenever we absolutely needed it. But we also were getting paid half of our salaries. And our salaries, those of us who are full-time, Hillary and I, it's a teacher salary, right, in the state that we're in. So it's not an enormous amount, as if we're a CEO of a company or anything like that. We try to stay very sacrificial and relevant to our community as well, where we are. So, but we were getting half of that salary and still working full time for a good year. And last year, our organization decided, we're gonna pay full, and we had the funding to do so for a whole year. And so now we're just at that place again where we're feeling that that our income is monthly is less than what we need it to be. And so last year we started our strategic partner circle, which was founded to think about this. We've been listening for years, like I said, on the financial issues of Luke 10 and funding this revolution of facilitators all around the world. And so you saw the video, I'm sure people might have seen it, of the 2 engines that kind of came to us, of one is Pay It Forward and now strategic partnering. And that brings us to the 67 experiment of letting our people know that this is the second engine. The piece has finally come to us, so to speak, if it were a puzzle, or the engine, if it's the plane. And we need this engine fully working in order for the plane to fly well.
Well said. So in a minute, we probably want to look at the budget. You've got that there, and we'll make that available for people. And maybe for Hillary, I don't know what you're thinking. We've got some open spots over the course of the week, Hillary. Maybe this is something you want to replay on sometime on Saturday, or I don't know, whatever. So this might be just good information for people. So strategic part. What is a circle? Strategic partner circle. What's a circle?
We will get into that this week for sure. So we run ourselves in circles. Boy, do we. So as an organization, we're structured in circles. And our circles are different groups of people that focus on different parts of the organization. So the mission circle, for example, the mission circle focuses on the vision and mission of the organization and how to lead and make sure that we're in that DNA, as we talked about. Then we would have the operations circle, which is the group of people focusing on, are the systems running well? Are people getting taken care for and nurtured, or are they falling through the cracks, right? And then we have our R&D, or our equipping circle. And that circle thinks about all things training and all things equipping. So we divide ourselves up in these circles so that we can focus well on the work that we need to focus well on. But all the circles are related and connected to each other through two people. In each circle, there's an overlap so that the whole of the organization can communicate with each other, with itself very quickly when it needs to, even though it's diversified.
And so this week, people who are watching in on the 67 experiment will get to sit in on some of our circles. So I think Wednesday afternoon, we have general circle. And again, anybody can come and just observe. That's Wednesday. Thursday, finance circle. What do the finances of Luke 10 look like? So you kind of see our current financial situation. Friday will be our R&D. So that's research and development. That's kind of like where we're writing the next book that we're working on. So check the schedule, and love to have you come sit in on any of those. So part of what we're doing here is being very transparent. Some organizations, some churches, even some ministries, it's really hard to know exactly what's going on.
Oh my goodness.
And I think one of the values we have in Luke 10 is to be very transparent. So
I have to tell you, John, when I worked, the first church I worked at, the pastor of 30 years. I mean, this man had been the pastor for 30 years. The church in my youth was 7,000 members. And then by the time I was on staff, it was probably 5,000. And, we would go to staff meetings, and I kid you not, the pastor would scream at the staff and cuss at them. And I just remember going, this is so weird. Like, that doesn't look anything like what we see out in church when we're out there. Like, this is so weird. That incongruency that they didn't know how to have relationships with each other. Another example is I went to every woman on staff and asked if they would mentor me, because I wanted to be mentored. And I found out that they didn't trust each other at all. Not one woman had a friend on staff, and they had no idea what that would look like to actually disciple or mentor someone. And I thought, this is a church of 5,000 members. Like, how can this be that the inner circle of this organization is this relationally unhealthy? And so, I think that, like you said, a lot of churches could not even do this, because if they did, what would be revealed would be really scary.
It really would be.
And maybe what we reveal this week might scare some people too. I don't know.
This is who we are. So you want to go to look at the budget next, or do you want to talk about 67 next? What do you want to do next?
Yeah, we can talk about the amount that we're raising, and then I can show some details.
Good idea.
So it is a big, hairy, audacious goal, as my mentor Linus Morris would say, to try to bring in 16,750, something like that,
Per month.
a month.
Per month, yes.
A month. And I mean, if it were just a one-time gift, that would still be pretty ambitious. But to say we need this monthly, I think that is mind-blowing for most of our people, because they're thinking, okay, is that the whole budget? Or is that just what you're lacking? So, and if you're lacking that much, how much are you actually bringing in? So those are some of the questions that our leader teams have been asking. And so we do want to break this amount down for people so that they understand, again, the transparency piece. I do want to make very clear that that's what's lacking. That is not the whole budget. We bring in around $10,000 a month with Luke 10. And that's 55 donors basically make up that $10,000 a month. And we have been very privileged and very thankful to receive large donations from foundations and from people dear to Luke 10 who won't be able to continue giving those donations in the future necessarily. And so it is time for us to go, okay, as we listened in the strategic partner circle, God, what do you want us to know? And we just kept hearing him say, this is easy. And we kept thinking, no, this doesn't look easy. This looks really hard. And then we kept sensing him say, this is a community, a whole community's challenge, not just you guys. And so those were some of the things that we were hearing that led to the 67, that led to today. But I can get into the numbers then if you're ready and share.
And by the way, I'm looking at the chats here. Hillary says, LOL, we run ourselves in circles, exclamation point, which is true. So thank you, Hillary. So anybody else who's listening, at any point, put your questions or comments in the chat box. We'd love to see those. So, okay, you want to go to, you know how to do screen share?
Totally. And welcome if you just joined us. We're jumping right into the financial details here. So hold your seatbelt. All right, let me know if you can see this and if it needs to be bigger or not, because I don't have a really good gauge on how well other people out there can see these things. Maybe I can go bigger. How's that?
Okay. Yeah, there you go. I can see that. Hopefully everybody can.
So this really breaks down our entire budget into 4 categories. So as you can see here, the whole budget per month that we need is $26,955, so almost $27,000.
And we call that being fully funded, right? To do everything that we think God wants us to do.
Yes, fully funded. So yes, and I'll go through what that means, because, really we've been on a very lean budget, meaning it's only covered our salaries and our software services, which are, essentials. We can't get out of those monthly fees and banking fees. So it's only covered those things. And then now it's not covering that either. So obviously, if our salaries are close to $22,000 a month and we only get $10,000 a month in, you can see how these big one-time donations have had to fuel us and fund us for the last few years. And this is the budget for 2023. So currently, our salaries are probably $20,000. We hope to definitely give a 7% increase next year for inflation and for experience and time that people have worked with us. This is also, independent contractors. So Luke 10 has not been paying taxes for people. We don't provide health care for people. We don't provide any of those things. So like you said, a very lean budget. And people that work with us, that's a huge sacrifice that they make, right? To be able to work with us because of their calling, their vision, their mission, and also the environment that we get to work in is incredible. And, I don't know any other place that works and governs itself the way we do. And so hands down for mental health and sanity, it is so worth some of the sacrifices that we make financially so that we can can just enjoy each other deeply, and knowing that, we're well cared for as well by each other.
Toni, one question on salaries. How do we determine salaries?
So we have a finance circle that has crafted a compensation plan for how we compensate employees. And normally it is based on, again, a teacher's salary for your state. And that does include experience and years, that you have served, and education. And so it hopefully reflects, if I were in the teaching industry, it would reflect what I would hopefully be earning in that industry.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
We have a few comments.
Oh, yes.
Jonathan Johnson says the view looks good, and people can switch the view from full screen using the live stream controls, so they can change what they're seeing. And then Lisa Crocker is also saying hello. She says, hi, John and Toni. Lovely to hear you all sharing in cooking dinner here and enjoying your chat. Kisses.
Oh, love you, Lisa. Thank you. Mwah.
Lisa is in Ireland. She's one of our Irish facilitators. I'm learning to speak Irish. So Lisa, one of these days, I hope to be able to meet you face to face.
Amen.
I love your family. Love to see what you're doing.
Definitely. One day, Lisa, we will be in Ireland. I promise. Okay. So that's the salaries and the software, and that is the bare bones budget, right? Hopefully, I'm thinking in Spanish. O sí o sí. Hopefully, what is that phrase, Hillary, in English? For better or worse, we'll make that budget. Like that's our bare essentials must have in order to function. But that's no way to run an organization, right? If you're barely functioning, you're not thriving and you're not growing at all. And so the other two components bring in the growth pieces. One of them is the conference and retreats. So as you all know, we have an annual conference every year. And we like to help our internationals come to that conference. And so some of that is scholarship funds. We also would love to be able to pay for our staff to actually get there and pay for their conference fees while they're there. Up until this point, all of our staff, in addition to maybe even being on part-time salary or half salary, has paid for their own conference fees as well, and their travel and everything. And they don't have like ministry funds. Like missionaries would raise funding and they'd have ministry funds, and they would have so that it would be tax deductible and those types of things. Or if we worked for a company, they would pay for us to do that, right? So we would love to be able to pay for our six, is that right? 6, 7, 8, our 8-member staff to actually get to the conference and pay their way there, so that that's not a burden on their families, right? And then retreats is kind of in that, and it's also in some of it's in the capacity and funding. But John Kent and I try to do an annual retreat together where we discuss all things mission with the organization, and where we hopefully finish books together. We still have 4 books that we're working towards, and it's so crucial for us to be in person with each other for that read through of what we have written, and then hashing out of all of those ideas together to hopefully culminate in a book. So we have that scheduled for October of this year in Nashville, and hopefully we will get Jesus led done by then. So that's part of those retreats there. Any thoughts or questions about that, John, before I go to capacity development?
I don't see the private jet plane listed there in the budget. Where is that?
That's right. That would be nice. Yeah, you would like that, wouldn't you, to fly up in your jet? I bet you'd like that.
Yeah, right. Just kidding.
Too much. Okay, but notice there's no building fund, right? There's no building fund. There's not even program money here. Because I don't know if we have any programs that we run. I don't think so. I mean, our training pathways are there, but they hopefully fund themselves with how they function. And our facilitators hopefully are receiving pay it forward in that from God through the people they're serving or through others in their life that are paying it forward to them. So yeah, you don't see a lot of programmation money for eating or
Yeah,
things like that here.
that's a great overview, Toni. Thank you.
Well, the last section, though, I haven't talked about, which is capacity
Yeah.
development or funding. And, you know, I guess it was maybe four years ago now, possibly. We went away as a leadership of Luke 10, and we just knew that God was inviting us into a new chapter, but we really didn't know what that looked like. And so we hired an organizational development coach, happened to be my husband, to help us go through those 3 days together in a way that would be incredibly productive. And it was out of that time together that we nailed our 5 core values,
Right.
which have been incredible for our organization, for the benefit and the growth of this organization. And out of that, of course, is coming the books and the alignment of DNA and values. It allows for that alignment. And so that was incredibly important for us to do. And of course, we needed money to fund that. And at the time, thankfully, had a large gift to do that. And so, but we haven't had any money for that since then, right? And so being able to have that in a budget where when we need to do that, we have the funding available to do that is highly important, as well as funding. If we needed to take a trip to talk to an organization that wanted to fund us or even partner with us, like a university who wanted to partner with us, we'd be able to fly there and have a meeting with them, for example. And we just see that might be on the horizon as well.
Very good.
There you go. That is the thing. So as we were playing with these numbers and listening, we just playfully, Jesus was like, well, you know what? It'd be really easy if about 253 people gave $67 a month, wouldn't it? As we were asking him, how does this look if it were easy? And not that we want to tell people how much to give at all. It was just a fun, that feels light. And we always ask the question in Luke 10, what would this look like if it were easy? What would it look like if it were easy? And we asked Jesus that. And sometimes he tells us what it would look like.
So, Toni, a couple of things. One is I want to scroll down. I think everybody can do this on your screen. And there's a little, what do you call it, a chart that says how much of that $16,750 has been raised so far, and $134. So
I have $201.
You do? You're
maybe we need to refresh because maybe it's even more than that now.
Okay. Well,
someone can tell us if they have more. Maybe this is like an auction going once.
I wonder how we refresh.
No, I have 201 as well. That is the current up to date.
So you guys who are watching will be able, and we will be able to see as we go along this week how much progress we're making towards that goal. And we'd love it if you just would be praying about that. I mean, for yourself, first of all, you maybe already are contributing, and maybe the Lord wants you to increase that, and maybe not. There's no pressure, there's no guilt, there's none of that kind of thing. It's just we want the community to know where we are and where we're headed, what we're trying to do. So.
Also, we always say, listen to Jesus, and we've trained you to do that. So we know that every single person in a leader team, at least, and most people who've gone through Church 101, which are in the thousands now, know how to stop, quiet themselves, and listen to God for their urging sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts about this, because we don't want to be guilt-ridden or guilt-driven or duty-driven. We really want to be a people that are joy-fueled and Jesus-led, even in our giving. And I know that is so new for most people, John. It's just, it's like all that, it affects all of their life, but somehow the financial piece of their life stays in a separate corner somewhere. And the trauma related to that has been just crazy. So I just want to draw that out, that we're not gimmicky. We're not trying to, manipulate people emotionally so they give. We really are asking you to just listen. And as John said, pray it forward for us. If you sense God saying, no, this isn't yours to carry, great. Would you pray, ask him, well, do you want me to pray for them, and see what he says about that and how to best pray for us in this? We would love that as well.
I want to point out that I think we're trying to do two things that are really challenging as an organization. So the first thing, and both of these are about money. The first thing is it would be really simple in a lot of ways if we just said, okay, we're just going to charge for every course. Church 101 is going to cost this. Leader team's going to cost this. But we're sort of working with a tension. I think a healthy tension between paying it forward, ask the Lord about that, and on the other hand, it's offered to you at no charge. And it sounds crazy to people to hear that, but we're trying to live in the tension of those two things. The things that we offer do have value. On the other hand, we're not requiring people to necessarily pay for it. Listen to Jesus and do what he says. That's the first thing. That is, it's hard. I mean, we've wrestled as leadership a lot with how do we talk about money, and this is where we think the Lord has led us to. The second thing that we are doing that a lot of organizations would say that's just crazy is we are asking people who go through Church 101, are in a leader team, are in facilitator training, to pay it forward to their facilitator. Now, in some senses, it would make a lot more sense if we just said, pay this to the organization. So Luke 10 as an organization would be much closer to meeting our budget if the organization just got all that money. But that's not what we think the Lord has said to us. We think he wants to fund a movement around the world of all kinds of people that have to have been to seminary, just mere lay people, right? Who could be funded as they engage in this work. We think that's what Jesus had in mind when he said the worker deserves to be paid. That's what Jesus said. That's what Paul said. And so those are the two things that we're doing, which, again, humanly speaking, even some Christian organizations and churches would say that just is crazy. But, well, we're kind of crazy anyway. So any comments about either one of those things, Toni?
Changing Christian culture is what you're going after there. And that is no small task. And it usually takes multiple generations to actually see that shift. And so I think it's challenging because we're at the very beginning of the shift. And so some of our facilitators out there who, are facilitating even from India and where was called, I don't want to mention names, Malaysia, Russia, some of our international facilitators even, it's challenging because they're giving their time and energy, and without that cultural shift yet, some people can't pay it forward or don't even know how they feel about that still. They're still in that shift of changing culture to give to those who nurture you spiritually. And so it is a challenge. It's a challenge for us as an organization and for our facilitators to continue living into a new paradigm when that paradigm isn't fully functioning yet. So we're going to talk about that, I think, in our finance circle a little bit this week, because some of our facilitators are going, I haven't gotten paid forward. And so I don't know if I can continue doing this, because the whole premise is that I can do this because I'm fully funded right now to do it. So if that funding has run out and the group in front of me is not paying it forward, then how do I still offer this when I need to shift in order to feed my family, right? And so that's where some of our facilitators are. And it breaks my heart because I see their calls. I see the work that's happening and the fruit and the growth that's happening in people's lives. And so my heart goes out for that part, that engine of our plane as well, because it's new. We're out in no man's land, creating a new culture.
You said again, two engines. One engine, pay it forward. That has to do with everybody out there who is facilitating, who's training, all those things. That's one engine. And then strategic partners. And that's really what this whole week is about, is people who want to help the organization itself. So both engines are key to what we think we're doing. And you mentioned Finance Circle. So that's meeting this coming Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern. And you guys are all invited to come watch.
I thought we met at 10 a.m. Eastern.
10 a.m.
Okay.
That's right. 10 a.m. Eastern. I'm Eastern, so I should know that. And so you guys are invited to come and watch our process. You get to see how we don't have any, this is not like a scripted program we're going to do on Thursday. You get to see how we actually function. We say how the sausage is made, as you know, as they
Right.
come and watch. So go ahead.
I was just gonna say, John, so real quick, from your perspective, you've been interviewing me and I so love that. But this has to be crazy for you to, I mean, 15 years ago or 12 years ago when you founded Luke 10, you probably never dreamed of this moment. So I'm just wondering what's going on in you. Like, how are you feeling about all of this?
I think the main feeling, I've checked in a few times with this in the last week, is I'm thankful and excited. So I'm so thankful that it's not just me doing this. I mean, it was me and Kent, but a lot of it was just me. And so God has brought a lot of people who are way smarter than I am, way more gifted than I am, to pick up these different areas, whether it's communication, whether it's writing books, whether it's finance, all that sort of stuff. And I feel like we're so much healthier as an organization, since it's not just me. It really is an ecosystem of grace. And I'm so thankful for that. This whole 67 live streaming thing is totally new to me as an old guy, 74 years old. But this was Hillary. She came to us with a proposal. She said, what do you think about this? And we processed that together and said, let's do it. So thankful for amazingly gifted people that God has brought to us. And I just love that. And the second thing is I love experiments, if you've been around me long enough. Like right now, in my own personal reading, I'm reading a book called The Skunk Works. Any of you like military people have heard of this. This is a special, almost secret part of Lockheed Aerospace. And these are the guys that create brand new airplanes, cutting edge kinds of things, the U-2 spy plane, the Blackbird, and more recently, stealth bombers and fighters. This was revolutionary. Nobody knew how to make an airplane that no radar could see. And this little section of crazy mad scientists actually did it. They started from scratch, put it all together, and created these amazing airplanes. I think Luke 10 is a little bit like that. I think we're kind of like Skunk Works. And so we're doing all kinds of new revolutionary things. There's an atmosphere of experimentation.
Okay, I have to tell you, so today, just to give people an understanding of this, because Luke 10 is not top-down led at all. As you heard, it wasn't even the mission circle that came up with this idea at all. It was people in our circles who wanted to see Luke 10 funded. And so they came together, formed a strategic circle that you're not even a part of, and they submitted proposals of different ideas, right? And then we got to look at those ideas and go, yeah, I don't have any objection to that. Like, run with it, right? And so anyway, today, one of my leader team members, so someone who isn't on any of our circles and doesn't work for Luke 10, she wrote me, Shannon, I'm giving you a shout out. She wrote me just today, like right as this call was happening. She's going to hate me for this. And she says to me, Toni, how do we submit proposals with Luke 10? Because I think God's been stirring in me to submit one. I keep hearing an idea from Jesus. And although I'm still making time to listen, I think he may be asking me to propose it to you. And I was like, that's awesome, because that's who we are. You know, I said, write it up, meet with me, pitch it to me, and I'll take it to the mission circle if that's what you're hearing from Jesus. And so at any given moment, any of our leader team people, any of our community can submit a proposal and take lead on something, and the organization shifts and changes and grows the way Jesus is leading it to, so that it's not led by just the top down. It's really amazing.
And so we think this is like a totally new paradigm, maybe old paradigm, but a new paradigm of what church is like. Probably the early church was much more that way. But you know, with Josh Packard and the Duns, the 65 million Duns, people are done with church for all kinds of reasons. You know, one reason is I just couldn't make any friends there. Another reason is I get tired of being a passive pew sitter. I want to have a voice. I want to have something to say. And so we think Luke 10 is modeling what is it like to be in a community where everyone has a voice. Everyone is both a teacher and a learner. And I love that. We're changing Christian culture. So as you think about, as you pray about this week and investing, maybe a further investment or first time investment in Luke 10, I see it as an investment in literally changing Christian culture around the world. That's what you're investing in.
That's why I'm in.
Yeah, me too. I like the big story. So that's why my podcast is called Stories from the Revolution, right? I love it.
Well, I think we can have a closing round, don't you? I think we end at the top of the hour, and I need to get ready I need to rest my voice because I think I'm going to be doing a podcast live here in a little bit.
Okay.
Yes, you are. So far, the only comment is from myself. I can't wait to hear Shannon's proposal.
Yeah.
I know, right?
I love that voice from, was that Jesus who was speaking there?
No, it's me. Anyway, if you, never mind.
Okay. So what is a closing round? What is that?
So in Luke 10, we realize that we don't learn from our experiences, but we learn from reflecting on what we have experienced. And so it is like us every time we're together, pretty much, even if it's just social. We stop and we go, let's just think about what happened just now. What did we see happen? What did we see God doing? What was most important to me? What do I walk away with? So any version of that would count as a closing round thought. Sometimes we think, what values did we see in action here? But yeah, any of those count. So you want to take a deep breath and just weigh in with yourself and see what you take away, what your closing is.
Sure.
You don't have to think very much. I know you're like that, man, but I might need a minute. I might need a breath.
Okay. So you tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, go for it.
So when we were listening on the 67 experiment in a leader team last week, someone said, changing culture could take a lifetime or more. And if we were running after that goal with everything we have, we'd probably kill ourselves. But what I see in Luke 10 is the goal is never lost, but the focus is on the relationships around us as we reach that goal. And she said, I think it's that bondedness that I'm drawn to in Luke 10. And, you know, I just thought, wow, that our people see that. They see it. It's not hidden, that we love each other deeply and that we're committed to each other and the vision and mission probably equally. And I think that says a lot. And so our time together, that's what that makes me think of, because I do love journeying with you, and it's enjoyable and it's fun. And I think, oh, if the plane crashes and burns, it was all worth it because I got to hang out with John White for many years, and it was so enjoyable.
Well, thank you. Tony, the two words that came to my mind as takeaway, one was flow and the other was joy. And I was just paying attention to how easily our conversation flowed. We didn't sit down and really prepare anything. We just do what we always do. And we talk and we listen and we draw each other out. And then just the enjoyment of you, of your glad to be with me. I always feel that with you. And the enjoyment of the journey that we have been on for these last 9 years or whatever it is, has just been one of the highlights of my life. And so this conversation is just a kind of a retelling of the story. And I never get tired of that. I love what it is that God's doing. And I love being able to journey with you and with Matt and with Kent and Hillary and all the rest of the gang. So that's just so much fun. So I wonder if I can take just a second and tell people what's up for the rest of the day. I think this is what we've never done this stuff before.
Before we do that, we have a closing round from Jonathan Johnson.
Oh, okay.
He says, excellent introduction and welcome, you two. Thank you for your transparency and for your effectively casting the vision. I'm hopeful that it's easy enough to create an account so that the other people watching can add their thoughts. Don't be shy, friends.
Oh,
I hope it is
thank
as well.
you, Jonathan.
Jonathan's one of our trainers, right? We're in training process.
He is. Man.
Watch
out, world. Watch out, world.
I get to interview him later on this week. So
good.
So let me just quickly say what's up for the rest of the day. I'm looking at the schedule here.
And if we do replay this later, for those watching later, this is Monday and it's 12 o'clock Monday. So what's coming up later for you might be different than what's coming up later right now, just in case this is replayed.
Good point. So today, Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern, live podcast recording, Joy Fueled and Jesus Led. This is your podcast, Toni, right?
It is.
So people get to see how the sausage is made there. And then 4 p.m., we're going to do a gentle curiosity session with Ben Hamilton. And I think I get to host that or facilitate that. Ben is in Australia, one of our trainers. So you get to know Ben at 4 p.m. today. At 5 p.m., I get to interview Jim and Kathy Mellon, who were like one of the real house church pioneers. They started back in 1992 when I was only 12 years old. Not exactly. But anyway, Jim and Kathy have been friends for a long time. So I'm really looking forward to drawing them out and having them tell their whole story. They're a wonderful couple. So that's what's up for today.
Yeah. And so, I'm hoping that some of these can be played again in the evening so that those who are working can catch in at the evening, Hillary. I know we can talk about that later, but anyway.
All right, Hillary, I'm still learning how to do this. Which buttons do we press?
Sounds good. Let's see here. So
afraid of pushing the wrong button. And
there you go. I was going to say, you can come on and do it.
The replays are actually going to be a little bit difficult. Right now, all of our testing from yesterday is available to share.
Oh, funny. Okay.
And Zach and my chat today is not available to share yet. So I'm in contact with support, trying to work that out.
All right.
And some other things with support as well. So, yep. What we're going to do right now is end the session and leave a custom text display. Who wants to practice first, Toni or John?
Sure.
John, you go for it. You're on several times today.
So, right. So once you click end session, it'll ask, are you sure? And then you say yes. And then, yeah, sure, go for it.
In session. Are you sure you want to end this session? You can't undo this action. That sounds pretty scary.
I know, right?
I go ahead and click in session.
Yes. Susan says it's all a work in progress and you guys are doing great.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so yes, click end session.